Mercedes is working effortlessly back at Brackley and Brixworth to bring upgrades to the W14. With Toto Wolff admitting to be making dramatic changes to the W14, news has been flying out of the Mercedes camp. Latest leaks have revealed details about the new suspension system the engineers have been working on for the W14. So in today's video, let's discuss details about the new suspension for the W14 with the technical reshuffle the team has made in the background. Want to find out more about Mercedes' technical reshuffle and the new suspension design? Then stick around for the rest of the video. The current off-season for Mercedes has particularly not been good, as they sit third on the constructors standing 67 points behind Red Bull. As we talked in one of our previous videos, some of the parts tested in the Mercedes wind tunnel in the winter break were inaccurate and were produced outside of the permitted tolerances. These problems have not only affected the development of the W14, it sure made the team more convinced to make an entire concept overhaul. The team had problems in terms of correlation of data from the simulator to real life. All of these problems combined led to the dismissal of some people back at the Mercedes factory who follow the productions and testings. It's worth noting that this is not entirely Mike Elliott's fault, but the technical department sure was his domain. Therefore he is partially to be blamed, and questions were raised on whether Elliott should remain in the role as technical director, given that he took up the role in 2021 from one of the greatest minds in Formula 1. And now, the official swap of job roles has been made between Mike Elliott and James Allison. James Allison takes down the technical director role at Mercedes, while Mike Elliott will move up as chief technical officer. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff revealed the news about the roles switch, followed by an explanation as to why the swap was made. This was very much driven by Mike Elliott owning the process. So, we have reversed the roles. Mike has moved up to CTO as he has a brilliant switched-on scientific mind, and James Allison has returned to his technical director position, reporting into Mike. Elliott would devote all of his time to the America's Cup project, whereas Allison's prior position as CTO only required him to spend 3 days a week. Additionally, it is anticipated that Allison will continue to play a role in the America's Cup initiative he was involved with while serving as CTO. Elliott, according to Wolff, thought Allison was far better suited for the technical director position, where he would have more direct control over the car. It would be advantageous for him to concentrate on more general organizational technical advancements that would play to his own strengths. What Mike's assessment was, and the introspection is really admirable, is that with James we have a gladiator on the field and the troops are going to go through the fire for him and with him, added Wolff. Mike came to the conclusion that the way he approaches things, his skill set, is best utilized in developing the organization going forward, from technical capabilities to human capabilities and putting together the structure that can be successful for many years to come. With Elliott taking on some additional responsibilities formerly handled by that function to free up Allison's time, Allison will ramp back up to working 5 days a week and be totally focused on the car development. Elliott will also have overall responsibility over the automobile design. Now that the car is in their hands, Mercedes has a trusted technical lead. With a new sidepod design among the improvements anticipated for this year's car, it's probable that while Allison will concentrate on perfecting what is already in the works, the majority of his workload will be on attempting to get 2024 right. He should have enough time to lead the design and direct resources appropriately to get things going next year if the direction is right, because the change in roles happened early enough in the year. Mercedes has modified the job descriptions of its senior designers in addition to Allison and Elliott's jobs in order to better acclimate the team to the cost cap environment. Wolff added, John Owen as the director of car design had a very different job profile under the cost cap because, in addition to the creative part of designing a car, you have a ton of extra work that comes with it. What happened is that the chief designer became a cost cap administrator. So, we've split the role. John stays as the chief designer, but we have mandated his deputy, Giacomo Tortora, to become the engineering director. It means John can concentrate on the specifics of the car design, and Giacomo looks after the design office and the organizational development. James Allison actively started to work on the W14 Imola concept change after the Bahrain tests itself. Although his involvement was initially pure advice, now we all know that he has his hands on the design and development of these upgrades on physical point of view. But before the Imola upgrade package, new mechanical components for the W14 said suspension update will arrive at Baku. The suspension has been a key talking point so far this year. This is because Mercedes and Aston Martin share the same rear suspension, but Aston Martin are able to generate similar performance in the corners in terms of traction and riding the curbs as the Red Bull does. So that raised the question for Mercedes, as it must be something in their front suspension they're doing differently or just on their suspension setup in general. We have talked in our previous videos about the Red Bull anti-dive and anti-squat setup, which allows them to gain an awful lot of performance, especially in a straight line. Matt B. Mercedes have realized their suspension isn't where it needs to be, and they're making some significant changes. The rumors suggest that the said mechanical components within the update package are the heave springs, heave dampers, and corner dampers. This is the suspension of the W10 illustrated, and you can see the heave spring, heave damper, and the corner damper in place. Mercedes probably would have looked at what Aston Martin and Red Bull might have been doing to gain such performance. A car concept, as people think, is not the side pods themselves. The Zero Pod is so evidently different compared to what the opposition are running with. But there's so much more that goes into a car concept. The most important factor would be the front wing, because it's the first part that hits the air, and how that flows over the rest of the car and under the floor is such a complicated process. That aspect cannot be fixed just by a redesigned side pod, because the underfloor and diffuser all should be changed. It's almost clear that a big step will arrive in Imola. It will bring an important change both aesthetically and under the bonnet to carry the new revised side pod and help generate more downforce. Some changes will be made to the cooling system according to reports, especially in the placement of the cores. This is reported to take place between Baku and Imola. Whether these changes will affect the efficiency of their power unit, that's a question to be answered when the changes take effect. Other steps will be taken to the track in Spain and Silverstone if their previous upgrades achieve their set targets. For the team is to give Hamilton and Russell a single-seater that is easier to drive and with greater downforce. The suspension update also would be to make the drivers, especially Hamilton, feel connected to the car while driving. Much of the work is concentrated in the air flowing under the car and at the diffuser. Mercedes is trying to recover as much downforce as possible, but in the short term, there are a few suspension changes they are making to accommodate the Imola upgrades. It wouldn't be realistic to expect any significant performance differences in Baku and Miami. Baku being a rear-limited circuit, similar to Bahrain, which means chances of Mercedes struggling are high. But what do you guys think? Can Mercedes make any gains with the Baku and Miami upgrades? Do you think Allison can conjure something to bring Mercedes back to the competitive front? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. We'd love to discuss it with you. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula 1 season.